Welcome to the Visualize Meditations podcast, hosted by your friend Sasha Patil, a Chopra certified meditation teacher. The first step to creating the life of your dreams is to create a clear and compelling vision for what you want for the future. I'll be guiding you on visualization meditation so you can get clear on your deepest desires. Let's get started so you can turn your vision into a reality. Hi, hello, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the Visualize Meditations podcast. It's your gal pal Sasha, and to paint the scene for you, I'm still in sunny San Diego. I've been here now for about a little over 2 months, and I'm leaving in a couple of weeks for my next destination, and I'll be there for a couple of months. And I've really loved San Diego. I've seen a good amount of the city since I've been here. I've really been enjoying my time. I've been making friends. I've been hanging out with community. I've been working my ass off, recovering from my surgery, you name it. I really do love it here. But at the same time, I am very excited for my next chapter. So today we're going to be getting into a topic which was requested by some listeners about feminine versus masculine energy. And I have to be so honest here. And I don't know how much I'm going to share publicly, but this topic is very near and dear to my heart, but not for the best reasons, to be honest with you. And I can't get into too much of it because I want to respect the privacy of my ex right now. And I don't know how much I'm going to save story-wise for a different time and a different place. But essentially, in my last relationship, I was told a lot that I was, quote, not feminine enough. I didn't realize at the time that that was completely untrue, and the reason I was being told this really had nothing to do with me. In reality, knowing the information I know now, I actually am and was a very feminine person. It was just not being appreciated at the time. So in that time, towards the end of my relationship where I was being told that I wasn't, quote, feminine enough, I spent a lot of time and energy researching feminine energy versus masculine energy, and I took a lot of actions to embody more of my divine feminine energy. So it's something that's very near and dear to my heart, and something that when I think back on that time, my heart almost breaks for myself that when I had someone telling me, oh, you're not this enough, you're not that enough, and I was trying to warp myself and change myself in order to make that person happy or to make the relationship work, as opposed to stepping back and saying, wait, I am good enough and I am very feminine. I'm just not being appreciated for it. It's so funny to me that I was being told that I wasn't, quote, feminine enough because I was too ambitious and loved working. But let's be so real and so clear. My business is 2 podcasts with guided meditations. Okay. And my 9-to-5 job is in the beauty, makeup, skincare industry, and my background's in fashion. So like, even when I am working, it's on very feminine things. I'm a very emotional person. I would like to think that I'm a very empathetic person. Multitasking is my bread and fucking butter. If you take a look at all of these feminine traits, I'm a very feminine person. So for someone to tell me that I'm not, quote, feminine enough is honestly pretty much bullshit, because I definitely am now and I definitely was then. I just was not being appreciated for it. And it's important to recognize these traits within yourself, and do not let anyone tell you that you are not, quote, this enough or, quote, that enough, because if they're telling you that, then it's not about you. It's more of a reflection about them, and it has more to say about them and who they are as opposed to you. So that's my PSA. If someone's telling you how to dress or who the fuck you are or not enough, say bye. Say goodbye. See you never. It makes me sad, honestly, that past me went through that, and that it really impacted my self-esteem so much, because when you're being told by the person that you love most that you're not enough and that you should be different, and then you try bending over backwards for months to be what that person wants, and then it's, quote, still not enough, that's not on you. That's on them. But it really took a hit to my self-esteem and my mental health at the time. And now, after being so far removed from it, after it being 2 years since I was going through all of this, I finally have enough space to take a step back and to say, oh, actually, all of that had nothing to do with me. And I am more than enough being who I am now. And I know that I have divine feminine and divine masculine within me. And I feel so rooted in both. And I know how to discern which one I need to be in which given moment. And I'm okay with that. But at the end of the day, I really did have to go through that. And I wouldn't change anything now. But it does hurt my heart thinking about past me and the suffering that I went through in order to bend over backwards and mold myself into the person that I thought someone else wanted me to be, as opposed to standing up for myself. So in that time, I took a lot of actions to embody my natural divine feminine. I read a handful of books. I read Pussy, A Reclamation. I read Woman Code. I read In the Flow. And I read The Woman Who Run with Wolves. I do have a couple more. I haven't read Sacred Woman yet, but I do have that book. And I listened to podcasts. I was going to some seminars and things like that. So I spent a good amount of time researching, taking notes, making changes in my life in order to embody my natural divine feminine energy. And today I'm going to chat about the divine feminine and the divine masculine and talk about what I've learned and what worked and what didn't. And let's freaking get into it. Every single person on this planet has both divine feminine and divine masculine in them. You need both in your life as a person, and it's important to create space for both within yourself. Everyone has both divine feminine and divine masculine energy in them. It's kind of a common thing that people say, like, oh, this person's really toxic femininity or toxic masculinity. Like, yes, there is that. And at the same time, everyone has both energies within them. It's a matter of in which moment are you leaning into which energy, and also in general, do you lean more one side or the other? And for me, it changes based on what's happening in my life. Literally at a very given moment, a very given day, an hour, it changes all the time. So in romantic relationships, we need polarity in order to create passion, right? So we need someone to be on the masculine side and we need someone to be on the feminine side. And this could be an entire episode in itself about how to create that polarity and how to find polarity within your romantic relationship. But we're not going to talk about that today. I typically don't talk about romantic relationship advice on this podcast. And I think if I were to do that, I would need to have an expert on, someone to actually chat through this. So I'm not going to talk about feminine and masculine energy within relationships, but just know that everyone has both, and that in a romantic relationship you do need polarity. Even if it's two people of the same sex or gender, like one person is typically going to lean more feminine and one person is typically going to lean more masculine in order to create polarity and passion within your relationship. But today we're going to talk about what it's like to have divine feminine and divine masculine within yourself, because everyone has both energies within themselves. It's really important to create a space to have both energies within yourself. For me personally, in my day, I find that I embody both divine feminine and divine masculine based on what I'm doing, the time of the day, what I'm focusing on, also the people I'm with. Like, it might bring out different things in me. I can range very far on one side or the other side. You might meet someone who's super feminine and feminine most of the time, and then someone who's super masculine and masculine a lot of the times, but they do both have both energies. And you'll see kind of what I get into it when I give examples of the difference between divine feminine and divine masculine. But something I also want to note here too is that in today's culture and in today's society, there's a lot of pressure to be a certain way and to show up a certain way. It depends on the subculture you're in, right? Like in today's culture, we might be pushing men to be way more sensitive or to be super, super masculine and to just hustle and like push your feelings aside. And then for women, like we might also, I feel like recently we kind of been pushed more in the masculine realm where it's like, okay, be the goal-getter, be ambitious, be driven, be this, be that, be whatever. And then at the same time, like we might see kind of social media, like just the girly things, like just going through it. So society is kind of telling us at all times to be certain ways and telling us to show up in certain ways. And I'm here to tell you that both are real and you need both at different times and at different places. So if you feel like you're performing in a certain way for somebody else or for society at large, like I would definitely encourage you to take a step back and be like, actually, how do I feel in this moment? So let's talk about the difference in energies. What is the difference between feminine energy and masculine energy? Let's chat about it. So the feminine energy is all based in nurturing. So that's when you're going to get more flow energy. That's when you're going to get more intuition and intuitive energy. Feminine energy is more collaborative. Feminine energy is a lot of multitasking. Feminine energy is very emotional. It's passionate. When you're in your feminine energy, you're more creative. You're more empathetic. You're more receptive. You're way more in tune with your emotions and how things feel. You're way more present and you are just being instead of doing. And the best way to bring out the feminine is to praise the feminine. The feminine energy really thrives off of praise. It thrives off of like compliments. If you're trying to criticize it or if you're telling it it's being too masculine, it's the fastest way to shut down any feminine energy is to criticize it and to strangle it and say like, you're not this enough, you're not that enough, which also may have been an issue in my last relationship. But again, don't really want to get that much into it. I learned this after the fact. So is something to note there is if you want to bring this more out of you, the best way is to compliment yourself, is to praise yourself, is to highlight what you're doing well. For the divine masculine energy, it's based all around protection. So it's based around protection. It's based around more force energy. This is where the more analytical side comes in. The masculine energy is competitive. It's singular. It's rational. The masculine energy is determined. It's linear. It's very logical. The masculine energy is really objective and assertive. The masculine energy is really goal-oriented, goal-directed, and it comes out with challenge. The way to wake up the divine masculine energy is to challenge the divine masculine. The way to wake up the feminine energy is to praise the feminine energy. And as you can see, like both of these groups of traits, the feminine energies and the masculine energies, most people have most of these things. It's just depending on what situation that you're in. Like for me with my 9 to 5, there are parts of it that I'm super in my feminine energy when I'm talking to really upset customers and I'm dealing with really upset customers and I have to be empathetic and emotional, and then I'm tapping more into my feminine. But when I'm doing my data analytics, I'm way more in my masculine, way more in the analytical side, way more in the like linear determined side. So it can even be within a role, it can even be within work where certain tasks might take me tapping more into my divine feminine and certain tasks might take me tuning in my divine masculine. So for me, I think it's really important because we have both and I lean more feminine is how can I create space for both in my life? And the most beautiful thing I've found for myself is to create the masculine structure to protect my own divine feminine. So that might look like, for me, time blocking and scheduling, where I know that from this hour to this hour, I'm working on these things, and it might be a more divine masculine area of my life where maybe I'm feeling really goal oriented and like really want to be focusing and working towards my goals and just very linear in my approach there, as opposed to, maybe I'm going to take the afternoons off and I'm just going to go lay in the park and look at the sky and just be present with myself and be present with the universe and just slow down. And then I can tap more into my divine feminine energy. So for me, it helps to have my masculine create structure in which my feminine can nurture other areas. It's almost as if you picture a sphere where the masculine energy is like the top down, like almost like a protective dome or a force field. And from the bottom up, it's a feminine energy, like nurturing and growing and taking care of everything. And together it creates a sphere. And you can't just have one without the other. Like you need both sides and they both feed into each other and they both take care of each other in a really, really beautiful way, both in a relationship and within yourself, for sure. So you might lean one way or the other for sure, but it's, I think, a matter of how can you create space to have both, because one without the other is not sustainable full time. So how do you channel both energies? As far as your feminine energy goes, well, you know what it feels like based on the difference in the energies that I just listed out, but like, how do you actually tune into it? How do you actually channel the feminine energy? So the fastest way to bring out the feminine energy other than praise is movement. So that could be like a dancing, that could be a flow art, that could be literally just yoga, that could be like just getting into the body and out of the mind. The masculine energy a lot of times can live in the mind, and the feminine energy a lot of times can live in the body. So even just like flow movements might feel really, really good, and just like moving in circular motions might feel really, really good to bring out that feminine energy. And even in the way you move, it is a difference in the feminine versus masculine energy. Like if you take workouts, for example, heavy strength training versus like yoga or dance, so different in the way that you're moving your body and you're tuning into these energies. So there are different ways to approach it. For example, like even in your goal setting and goal oriented, the feminine energy might just be like intuitive and dreaming up this big reality for yourself and just having fun and being collaborative and just, really tapping into the emotions about what would feel good. And then the masculine might be like, okay, after I've taken all that, what's the goal and how do I fucking achieve it? And there's like an inherent difference there, and you need both, right? You need the feminine to dream up all these beautiful ideas and be intuitive and creative with anything that's possible, but then you need the masculine to have the linear focus to go for it and to be the goal-oriented, goal direction person once you've decided. So yes, with the feminine energy, flow arts, dancing, working on creative projects. One of my favorite ways to get into my feminine energy, I love to paint. I love painting. It's something that I don't know when I picked up this hobby, actually. I must have picked up this hobby a couple years back, definitely at least like 3-4 years ago, maybe 5 at this point, but I've gotten more and more into it as the years have gone by. But it's my favorite way to tap into my feminine energy, is to just get creative, is just to paint or to draw or to mix colors or just any sort of creative act. Like for me, like picking out my clothing feels really creative, or doing my makeup feels really creative. Anything that kind of brings that creative energy out of you is very feminine, and it feels really good. Also, with the feminine energy, a really great way to tap into it is to just slow down. It's like slow down, be present in the moment, because the divine masculine energy is based in like doing, and the feminine energy is based in being. So how can you slow down? How can you be present? How can you just take a second, take a deep breath, tap into your heart space, and just get more into it? Also, self-care is a really great way to tap into your feminine energy. If it looks like taking a bath or doing extensive skincare routine or getting your nails done or whatever, like actual self-care and taking care of the body and how you look is a very feminine thing to do. And it feels really, really good. And again, it's all in feeling. It's all in like that yumminess that like feels absolutely delicious. And then also the way you dress. I think that's a way in general to kind of change your state and to tap into a certain frequency, how you're dressing for a super important business meeting versus how you're dressing for a workout versus a dinner out versus a casual day on the town, like all so different. So how you dress is a super easy way to change how you feel. For example, when I was going through all these challenges with my ex, I reorganized my entire closet so that all my masculine energy clothes were on one side and all my feminine energy clothes were on the other side. And whenever we were together going out for dinners, or whenever we were just hanging out, just us, I would wear my feminine energy clothes and just basically like a lot of dresses, skirts, bright, beautiful colors. And in my masculine side of my wardrobe, I'd wear like either when I was by myself or with my girlfriends or whatever, it would be like my trousers, my blazers, my like collared shirts, things like that. In hindsight, if someone is controlling how you dress, or if someone has some comments about how you're dressing, red flag. But that's a different story for a different day. But at the time, I was really trying my best to just bend over backwards to make my relationship work. So that was one of the tactics I had. Also, like, I was doing my best to not do work in the actual apartment, like not do any like masculine energy work in the apartment, and just like removing myself from it. And when I came back to the apartment, like change into something that makes you feel really good. Literally put your hair down. So much of your feminine energy comes through your hair. So literally take it down, take it out of the pony, take it out of the bun, and just like let it flow, and just like let everything flow, really. So how to tap more into your masculine energy is this again with dressing, like maybe you're dressing in a little bit more of a masculine way to tap into this energy if that's something that you feel like you need to tap into. But creating a structure of a schedule, looking at your goals, goal setting, creating a structure, getting through your fucking to-do list, getting through the really masculine things. So it might be like a really aggressive approach to a workout, or maybe it's being really analytical in your work, or maybe it's planning out everything that's going to happen. Maybe it's like planning your weekend with a friend who's coming out of town and like taking charge of everything, and like planning it out and building a structure is a really easy way to tap into your masculine energy. And then just like hustling, grinding, taking care of the thing, like just doing, getting the shit done, like very masculine. If you listen to last week's episode where I had a chat about finding both space for the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment, this is the same thing. It's like, how can I find space for both my divine feminine and my divine masculine? Because they're both equally important. I find that you need space for both and to create space for both, because one without the other is just not sustainable. And it can go into a toxic realm. Like, we've all heard of toxic masculinity. We've all heard of toxic femininity. Actually, I don't know if we've heard about toxic femininity. Have we? I don't think I've heard toxic femininity before. But we've all heard about, like, if you go one end of the spectrum to the other without the other side, like, it can kind of be a recipe for disaster sometimes. So it's important to find space for both in yourself and find space for both in your everyday life. And one thing I will say too, if we kind of go back to last week's episode with the science of achievement versus art of fulfillment, and doing one thing every day to make yourself better and go towards your goals, and then do one thing every day that just brings you joy and pleasure, that's literally the exact same thing here, where it's going towards your goals and hustling and doing the thing is the divine masculine, and then finding space for pleasure, being, enjoying, connecting. That's a really great way to tap into the feminine. So it's the same thing as last week as well, where it's like, I need to find space for both in every day, because otherwise one without the other is just not the healthiest way of living, at least for me. And it might be different for everybody, right? I feel like last year I was really able to tap into this like flow energy, because I literally did not have a lot of certainty about where I was going to be or where I was going or what was happening. So I had to go with the flow. I had to step into flow energy. It was my only way to deal with anything. Like, I couldn't create the masculine structure and the masculine plan. Like, I really needed to go flow over force every time. And something that I found really interesting was that this weekend I had a friend visit from out of town, and there was no plan really. At first I wanted structure. At first I was like, what's the plan? What's happening? And I was just like asking. Not that I was planning anything, but I was just asking my friends, and I was not getting any answers. And then I realized, like, okay, like, this is the masculine in me who really wants structure and really wants decision and wants precision. But the feminine in me is going to step back and be like, actually, it doesn't matter. As long as I'm prepared for any outcome and I can go with the flow in any outcome, it does not matter what happens. And I was able to kind of ease into that and soften into that. And I found that through the rest of the time with my friends when we were together, there were some moments where I was just like, okay, what should we do? Like, what's the plan? Like, what's going on? And I realized that I was stepping more into that masculine energy because the people I was around, and particularly the men that I was around, they were not stepping into their masculine to make the plan, make the structure, to figure out what the hell is happening, to protect. Like, they weren't doing that. So I didn't feel protected or like I had structure. So I had to jump in myself and say, okay, so what's the plan? So what's happening? So what's going on? When the divine feminine feels protected and safe, it allows them to soften and to really step into the divine feminine energy. But that can happen within yourself as well, you know, and also with externally. So maybe these people that I was around, like, they were not stepping into their masculine. So it kind of forced me to do that. As opposed to, let's say my friends did have a plan, and let's say my friends did have some structure to what they wanted to do or what they wanted to see, it would have allowed me to step back and to go more with the flow and to chill out and to just be like, okay, whatever, it's fine. As long as we're together, like, it doesn't matter. We could just surrender to the experience. It's all about surrender. And sometimes it's a little bit tricky to tell, like, actually how it's working and if you lean more one way than the other way, it's going to look very different. If you guys want me to chat more about the divine feminine versus divine masculine and like more specific questions around it or how that works in a relationship or anything like that, let me know. And I'd love to do another episode about something like this. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Visualize Meditations podcast. If there's anything you want me to chat about, or if there's anything that you have any questions on or feedback on, let me know. And if you guys could leave likes, comments, testimonials, all of it. It helps way more than you know. Some really exciting things are coming for this podcast. I know I've been saying that for months at this point, but I've been really putting in the inspired action. I've been really putting in the energy into the next big thing for this podcast, and fingers crossed that it happens and we're working towards it. So, in a very feminine and masculine way, like creative endeavors, but linear in my focus and moving towards my goals. So we definitely have both in everything. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we will catch you guys next week on the Visualize Meditations podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Visualize Meditations podcast. Please follow, subscribe, leave a review, all of the good things. If you want to connect more, you can find me on TikTok and Instagram at Visualize Meditations. So what are you waiting for? Get out there, create the life of your dreams, and we will see you next week.